Yo, what's going
folks.
on, people?
Whoa, whoa,
Uh,
whoa, 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 whoa. Manny, you were here last week, right?
Yeah, I was here.
And you saw there was a very, very specific conversation that happened, wasn't there, Manny? And I
Yeah.
said, listen, kid, I know you've done Largo Loop a few times now, but when I used to be here, I would take the wheel. And I would, am I going to do that again? And Monty was like, yeah, you do it, man. You do what you want. That's what we can pay you the big bucks for. So
we
I do
had
it.
that conversation like 2 minutes ago.
Week 2, Manny, he comes charging in, giving it the big one, trying to introduce it like he runs the website. What do you think this is, WrestlePurist or some shit? Carry on, Monty. I didn't mean...
You probably should have. You should have reminded me of the conversation.
Goes about saying, bro.
I'm a bit forgetful,
No, you're fine.
But yeah, welcome to the podcast. Everyone. We got there in the end. 90 seconds in, we finally got the welcomes in. I'm joined today by the Hall of Famer Joe Hulbert and future Hall of Famer Manny the Hooper. Backup Hangman should be with us shortly. He's got a few things he wants to talk about.
He's back in the
he'll be joining us pretty soon because, like I said, he's got a few things that he wants to talk about. Of course, all the releases and release rumors and people who apparently want to go, people who apparently want to stay. There's a lot of rumors and there's a few reports going around as well, but. I'll be polite and see how my guys are. Joe, how you doing?
I'm good. I have to be honest. I love talking to you guys. You're my pals, and it's great to be on this wonderful platform. But we're in a weird place with this particular discussion, I think, in wrestling media. Because there's a lot of leaks at AEW. I don't know if you've heard, Monty, but there's a lot of stuff getting out.
There's a lot of talkers,
Yeah, and I think it's got to a point where everyone has taken a firm stance on what do you do if a talent is upset, and now we're just changing the name out and having the same conversation a lot. It's really wild how quickly this has become the norm. I was just talking about people being mad at AEW and it's it's going through this, but
it's new.
It is, yeah, but it already feels like something we do regularly now, which is 3 months ago I don't think was the case at all, but. It's interesting, I'll say that, but I'm good. I'm good, Monty. I mean, obviously, I'd be better if, I was positioned as the host as I'm paid to be, but, broken promises and stuff. I thought we'd learn better after reading old Malachi's statement, but what are you going to do? Carry on, Monty.
Manny, the Hooper, the artist, the
innovator.
The innovator.
The artist formerly known as Manny Boy 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8.
What's good, bro?
All right, I've been productive all day. I tried going outside earlier to get my mail. Fucked up my eyes. Now I'm wearing glasses. Ate some cereal. I'm pre-gaming for Cowboys tonight.
Give us a play-by-play of this, because you kind of did before we went live. I didn't know if you were going to bring it up on the show. But I asked you why you were wearing glasses, and you was like, my eyes are bothering me. I was like, why? What's wrong, man? And you was like, I went outside. That was it. And then you gave us more. It was explain, give us the breakdown of what happened, because this was a fascinating development. Go ahead.
I was doing my laundry, and then I decided that I had to go outside. And then I went outside to go to my car. And then as soon as I opened the door, I got hit by the sun. And then I said, oh, fuck my eyes. And then I walked back inside, and my eyes were blurry ever since. It ruined Roadhouse for me. Yeah, it ruined Roadhouse for me. I was watching Roadhouse for the first time. And I said, God damn, I can't focus on the movie.
Now, when you say the sun hit you, I'm going to assume you didn't just stare directly at the sun and you're saying it's almost attacked you from behind.
Yeah, it did. It's weird because I have a porch or a thing outside where it was shaded, and today the shade wasn't just there. I was unprotected.
Unprotected. Amazing. All right, well, there you go, folks. There's your answer if you're wondering why he's rocking the spectacles today. All right. Should we get straight into the big story, Monty? I mean, I know you're the host, but should we get straight into it?
I came up with a graphic for this show.
Was it the one with Go ahead.
No. Well, I didn't make it. It's just a thought in my head, and I thought maybe somebody else can make it.
Okay. It's like what's the fault?
So just think of Kobe doing like a fadeaway, and then you see the basket and somebody just giving him a suplex while he's mid fade.
A German suplex?
Yeah. No, I mean a high angle since he's already in midair for a fadeaway.
A high angle? My God. Yeah. Oh, you really thought this through. There you go, folks. If anyone's interested in creating this graphic for Manny, then.
He's an artist. This is what I say to the people, bro. He's a fucking, he's a hooper. He's an artist.
Someone said this earlier, but I sent this out on Twitter and I said this platform is the ECW of wrestling media. But the charm to it is that it's kind of outlaw. It's a little bit crazy. Sometimes everyone just yells and like Monty gets called a drone and it's pretty wild, And someone replied that Manny is Sabu because he has no care for his own safety.
I also have to make a statement regarding AO.
Oh no.
You have to make a statement.
I see him getting bodied on Twitter and about his tweet that he posted earlier about the scoops. Guess what, guys? I sent that to him.
You're not supposed to sound proud of it.
Wow.
I sent that to him, and somebody reliable to me said that Zarian said it, so I told AO Zarian said it, and turns out completely false. And now AO's getting bodied for it.
Yeah, so to give it the full context for people who aren't on Twitter way too much like we are.
Lucky you.
So basically, there was a screenshot going around saying Andrew Zarian said X, Y, and Z. It was about like some AEW scoops or something. I didn't actually read it, to be honest. This went around a few group chats. AO got his hands on it. AO thought it was real. And he posted it on Twitter, and obviously he's got quite a big following. Probably should have double checked it and that,
I mean, it came from me. I mean,
he's
should have
human.
double checked it.
Yeah, one of his friends, Manny the Hooper, one of his trusted friends, sent him this screenshot. And basically AO posted it, and obviously it blew up, and then obviously Andrew seen it, and he was like, "Well, hold on," and he was just like, "This is fake news," basically. And AO's deleted the tweet now, and we all make mistakes. And I don't think anyone classes AO as a reporter, but like I said, he's got quite a big following, so it did kind of blow up, and Andrew and stuff were just clearing the name, I guess.
As an FTR fan, Monty, I was very glad that there was a new reason to kick the shit out of them on Twitter today with the Roman Reigns schedule line that was slid into that screenshot, which was incredible. And many of us even played defense on that. I was like, actually, that's a good thing. Wasn't even a real thing. Incredible bit, but this is what happens when Manny's on the roster. Listen, he gets over. He drew a hell of a house, but God only knows what he's going to do with that table. You know what I mean? No one has a clue. It is what it is. But
you don't know what he's going to do when he gets to the press conference.
No.
when he gets to those scrums, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Tremendous stuff. All right, I guess we should talk about Buddy Matthews, right? I guess that's the title.
Yeah. He's the thumbnail,
That's traditionally the way of doing it, right? The thumbnail and the title. You talk about those. We should put it. What is this is a genuine question, but this is what I mean by these. The discourse has become so muddy that I don't even know where the real story starts and ends at this point. What is the actual report as of right? Because everyone on this screen has heard different things because everyone hears everything now. It's bizarre. But what's the actual things out there? I know Fightful had a report. So what's out there?
So as far as I'm aware, there was a few rumors going around for a few days, and then on Sunday, Sean Mossap on Fightful Select put out a report saying Buddy Matthews may be done with AEW, and and obviously he alluded to the Great Muta Sting spots being like his farewell, getting the miss from Muta, how everybody wants to go out, and basically the specifics just aren't known yet. So it's like,
right
here it is. One source contacted Fightful after the New York City taping said they believe the tapings were Buddy's last night, but it hasn't been confirmed. Then at a indie show, he said, and this is a quote now, "Unfortunately, tonight I'm going to be the bearer of some unfortunate news. As everyone knows, the House of Black has had some issues lately. As all the members of the House all speak beyond the wall, we want to thank you all for being members of the House. Unfortunately, I, like some of the other members, need to go away for a while. I need to recalibrate. I need to figure out some things. As my brother Malachi once said, this isn't goodbye. This is see you later."
Who said this?
Buddy said that.
Buddy said that.
Oh, okay. I thought Malachi was like talking in third person.
No, because he was referring to, because Malachi gave a similar speech a couple of weeks back, right? So let's give some context on this. We might as well, right? Because like that was Sean's report. Sean is, obviously prolific, very accurate. But the thing about Rampage being his last, match for AEW, Grand Slam his last match, was like a very persistent rumor last week, right? Like it was a thing that we were talking about a lot over on the Late Night Grin. I know Monty and I talked about, like, it was just a thing that people were talking about, and wherever it came from, but it was a thing that was kind of out there. It does appear this is a slightly strange situation. It's more complex than it may have originally seemed. And I'm not sure that all parties are like done with this relationship. I think there's a lot of people that feel like this can be kind of rebuilt. I would be surprised, personally. But there seems to be a lot of vagueness. Manny, where do you just kind of your like position on this? Like, where do you think we're at right now? Because there is a lot of different stuff out there right now regarding Buddy. Where are you at, Manny?
I'm very disappointed in the Australian disappointment, but I hope he comes back and sorry.
You can't say I'm disappointed in the Australian disappointment.
What's that, bro?
You double dipped on disappointment. That's crazy, man.
Well, I hope everything works out, and I feel like everything will work out at the end because he still wants that Kenny Omega match, and I don't know. I just feel like I feel like he's gonna be able to do a lot more in AEW than he would if he's in WWE. Besides, like main event WrestleMania, so this like
that Heyman,
I really the Heyman. I mean, that's the only. I mean, the only good thing waiting for him in WWE is just his girlfriend and Heyman. In AEW, he has all the matches.
What else do you need?
Hang on a second, because this is actually important, genuinely. Because this is where, like, I don't think anyone on the screen is trying to frame Triple H as a creative genius or an expert or anything. Like, obviously, his flaws will very much show themselves as time goes on. Because I don't think he's a particularly creative guy. But this is where it is kind of a game changer. Because he would absolutely have Buddy wrestle 15-minute matches on his TV show. Like, he just would. He has everyone wrestle. Alexa Bliss wrestled a 15-minute match last week. Like, everyone wrestles, puts time in on TV. So I think there is an argument Buddy would actually do better there. It just looks hilarious because it was only a year ago that he produced a video escaping out of a World Wrestling Federation prison. So I think you want to consider your moves a little bit.
He's a magician. He's going back in there to break back out. That's what's going to happen.
Fair. Quite the play.
That Triple H call, it's crazy, bro. I'm telling you. Wrestlers love the guy. Some a lot more shamelessly than others.
Yeah, I don't think that's what this is. That is Paul Lee. But
that Paul Lee being as involved better as he is down to because Triple H is running things now.
Yeah, it's like I think Buddy's dynamic with Triple H is kind of. I think it's pretty unique, actually. Honestly, I think it's pretty unique because there was a couple years there when when NXT was red hot. Triple H did not use him on TV once. Mm-hmm. Buddy was very frustrated and wanted on 205 Live. At one point, he was preparing for an indie run, assuming he would be released. Then, famously, he got on 205 Live by kind of backdooring his way in and texting Adam Pearce, which I'm not sure everyone was thrilled about. And that's kind of the thing you have to do to get going sometimes. And he did that, and it worked. Oh. And then he said himself that in 2020, 2021, Triple H had a meeting with him and said, I would like to bring you back down to NXT. But he was never an NXT, like a Triple H guy. He pushed Blake and Murphy for a bit. And when he stopped pushing them, brother, they fell off the face of the earth. Like they were both done from TV. until Blake came back with Forgotten Sons, wherever the hell.
Yeah, look, because I wasn't even in NXT. Like, I've gone back and watched the hits.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I wasn't in NXT like for the whole time, so I didn't see like the whole Blake Murphy, Alexa. You know what I mean? I didn't see all that. Like, my introduction to Buddy Matthews was Buddy Murphy 205 Live, Cruiserweight Killer. You know?
Yeah, which so was separate from Triple H. You get what I mean?
That's what I mean. I didn't even know what he was doing, what Triple H was doing with him when he was actually using him. Like,
literally, and you can look this up, nothing. Like, he didn't work one TV match. Outside of Australia, they did Australia and he worked a TV match. But genuinely, he didn't work it for like 18 months. I remember he even told the story about he was supposed to do like a best of 5 series with Blake when they split up. And in match 1, Joe broke it up, beat them both up in 2 minutes, and that was they never wrestled again. Like, he was not, he wasn't into him that way. So I think that tells you how much power Paul Lee has. Because we know how much Paul Lee thinks of Buddy, almost to a hilarious level. I mean, I'm a Buddy fan, but Paul Lee is like, he's out of control with the Buddy Matthews fandom.
Buddy's the one that Heyman said he could be in the main event of WrestleMania, isn't it?
Yeah, he said him and Black would main event WrestleMania for him in a few years, which is an unbelievable quote to look at now. But yeah, that's something that apparently he said. So
it stuck with him.
Yeah, and don't have an app rule out. This is true. Buddy went back to NXT after he dropped the Cruiserweight title and worked someone for the North American title. So he did that spot. I think he obviously impressed people with 205 Live run. What I'm getting at is he was never, a guy like Malachi has fond memories of Triple H giving him the ball, right?
Yeah.
Or Andrade. Buddy won't have that is what I'm basically getting at, but it's
definitely.
But what's his relationship with Tony is the real key here. I mean, he hasn't been used. How many times has he wrestled on TV? 6, 7 times maybe? Like, I don't know.
Well, when he apparently got suspended for doing the indie show.
Yeah.
Apparently he was he wasn't too pleased with that, to be honest. Which is understandable because obviously when you think AEW, pretty much except for I'd say even the top guys, because Moxley goes and does whatever he wants. You know what I mean? So that even when the story first broke, it caught me a little bit off guard. Like AEW suspending someone for taking bookings.
Right.
It was just weird, especially with it being Bud Matt as well, because he's not like he was it's not like he was.
It wasn't needed at every TV, right?
Yeah. So I guess that's something, but is that enough to want to get out of there?
What the hell?
It's also what's up?
Buddy Matthews only had one singles match in AEW.
So that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I think
is that even true?
I'm on Cage Match right now. It's packed. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tag matches and one singles match.
Bro, that's where I think it's unfair to respond to this, but and I know Manny's popping himself down for genuinely. Maybe it would be better for him over there, man. He ain't doing nothing. He doesn't wrestle for them much, he's just had a weird run. It's he's been on the last 2 pay-per-views, I guess, right? Because he did this Death Triangle one at Double or Nothing, and then he did Sting match. I could see how it'd be frustrating. I think the part of this that is kind of the elephant in the room is isn't this kind of how you corner yourself with that act? When you have a roster 100 deep, okay, and the 70 of those dudes need to wrestle to get over, and you're doing lore and spookiness, I can see why Tony has other guys he needs to get to wrestle. I'm not saying he shouldn't wrestle more. I'm just saying I do think that's part of the story here. So we'll see.
Especially if Buddy's not really wrestling like the Buddy you want him to wrestle like. If he's going out there and just brooding around and wrestling in headlocks and stuff, I mean, I don't know if you really want that kind of Buddy Matthews stinking up on your TV,
you stink up stiff. I know you mean.
Okay, yeah. I mean, compared to what he usually does, his most exciting matches are the Pac one where they kind of semi would go fast at times, and then his match with Death Triangle right at the
that match is pretty crazy, yeah.
And then the Muda match that they had last week. That match was funny because Buddy was just going 100 miles per hour with Darby.
He's best as a meathead wrestler. And I mean that lovingly.
Yeah.
That dude he's best as a guy who just hits his offense and he's explosive. He definitely has had performances where he's been too stuck in the character work. Malachi had that problem too. I think we would all agree. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with young Monkey?
I've just read the group chat of AO telling Manny about that.
Oh no, heat on Manny.
Heat
on Sabu. Drop the guy on his head, brother.
Yeah,
doesn't work.
I just saw.
Tremendous stuff. At least he made a public statement. That's all you can do, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like we've, people make mistakes,
Yeah.
There's a couple mistakes made, and we've addressed them, and everyone's friends now.
Manny has been fined accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. His suspension starts after this show.
Manny has been sanctioned.
Yeah, but I don't know. Look, he's run as bit. Here's the one thing, and I just said this to you guys, but my perception of the Buddy thing for the longest time has been that he was not a guy Tony had a great deal of interest in, but Malachi wanted him on the squad, And I was just saying to you guys before we went live here that just a conversation today made me think otherwise about that. There appears to be some discussion that it's actually not the case at all, and Tony just didn't know how to use him in this particular spot. The only thing I would say that makes that feasible is he didn't pin Buddy often in those scenarios where you'd assume he would, Yeah. Obviously, Pac pinned him clean, but it's an interesting situation. I know there's certainly some belief that he's still going to be an AEW guy when the dust settles, but it's kind of it's a puzzling run altogether, so it's hard to kind of piece it together,
I think with the House of Black as well, it's like you hear, I don't know if it's been reported or just rumors about him. Like he is a singles wrestler. That's what he wants to do. Like the House of Black is like cool, but I feel like maybe it was just drilled in too much as a trio rather than 3 individuals. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe that would have worked better. Especially for guys like Bud Matt, who's obviously the topic right now. Well, I'm Malachi, to be honest, but Bud Matt obviously he held a singles title in WWE, Cruiserweight Champion, which it's not it's not like WWE's most prestigious belt. It's not even around anymore. But he won it in his home country in a big stadium. It was what I'm trying to say is I can understand why he would see himself as like a single star that has a ceiling that's worth time. Do you know what I mean? So when he's like he was the 3rd guy in House of Black as well.
Yes.
Brody King, he's had a world title shot. He's won Rumbles, Battle Royals. Malachi is obviously, the figurehead of the group, and Buddy's just kind of like the worker guy that's with him. So I can get how that could have definitely been like mad deflating for him.
But was he even used as the worker guy that's with them? This is the thing. Like how did we not get like a match with? Yes, I agree. What I'm saying is, I wonder how he would feel if he was like they pinned him regularly, but he had like outstanding matches. Like if they did a Ray Phoenix singles match, if they did a singles match with Mira, which felt like it was coming a couple weeks ago when he had that squash. Remember that? Like
this is what I mean.
I'd love to know how that would affect it. I don't know.
This is what I mean. Like it's different. Like if they were treated more as 3 individuals, rather than doing all these like trio squashes and shit that they were doing. Obviously do the odd trio here and there. I'm not mad at them being entered into the trios tournament or anything like that.
Right.
It's just it probably should have been more of a novelty to see all 3 of them working together because especially there was actually some novelty to it, especially when they first started getting going, because like the rest of these squash matches and they would be like so like vicious with it, there was like a real cool novelty to the House of Black. So maybe like I said again, if they would have kept them as 3 individuals and kept the trios matches more of a novelty, that would have probably suited everyone more involved, especially when you've got guys like Malachi, Brody, Buddy, who you wouldn't really label as tag wrestlers or trios wrestlers anyway. They are 3 individuals, but like I said, they were booked like just as straight up trios for the past few months. So.
I do wonder if like the big part of this conversation. And I get why people are not having it because everyone agrees on the talent of Malachi and like it's unquestionable. But I do wonder how much of all of this is just rooted in there is a thing that Malachi wants to portray as a character. There's a style he wants to portray that does not fit in Tony Khan's system of wrestling television. Now, let me be clear when I say that isn't a criticism of either side. As someone that watches AEW, I do wonder how well that faction and the way that it appears to want to be presented fits in like Tony's ideal version of Dynamite. Like, go ahead, Manny.
I've been saying that for a while. Like, Tony Khan doesn't really know how to book character-based wrestlers, especially when they're like, he doesn't really know what to do with Miro. Because what is Miro supposed to do? You know, or like an example people I shouldn't say care about is Abaddon. Like, what is Tony gonna do with Abaddon? You know, like, so it's just like Tony has to decide what kind of wrestlers he wants on his program, and how he wants to book and showcase his kind of talent. Because obviously we can tell he's not really interested in doing the less than 5 minute squash, and the only person that does do it is Wardlow or Jade, and those matches are already kind of getting tiresome for most people.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, you know, I'll be honest with you guys, and this is just talking as a fan, you know, we're looking at this the best we can kind of like in a more objective way. But as a fan, I certainly didn't want more of like that double or nothing build they did with Death Triangle, where there was like, you know, some of the stuff they did in that build I thought was like actively bad. You know,
there was a lot of wrestle crap going on.
Because I don't think
what it was, bro.
And I don't think they're good at doing that stuff. And it's like
Alex Abrahantes coming out in a fucking Halloween costume and shit, bro. It was fucking. He got ugly.
Yeah, and I think
Malachi couldn't even.
Good.
I would say Malachi couldn't even spit the Mister out right. Just look at what Muda did. Muda came out there. Muda went out there and gave Buddy Matthews a whole new face paint. You know, that's just like Malachi wasn't doing that.
And I do think that's part of this. Like, there is an argument that if you maximize Malachi, it may not have been the best thing for the show. I think that's a fair argument. Like, if you give Malachi the keys and say you're working Hangman at the pay-per-view, what's the program there? I'm not convinced that shit comes out good. And obviously the argument is, well, the filter, but the problem is not everyone likes being filtered. And I'm not saying that's the case with Malachi, but I think there is a chance that is the case with him, where he has big ideas and he isn't desperate for Tony Khan to explain to him that they can't do them on TV. You know, like, I think that's a factor here. But I don't know. That part of it, I do feel like, is kind of the actual root of the issue for House of Black in general. His favorite member of the team is just the big hoss, you know?
Yeah, it's not, you know, AEW is just kind of like a work rate, great match. You know, obviously it's not like a heavily character, you know, reliant show like that. So yeah, even if they were to pull it off, it would be like separate to everything else, you know. It'd be on its own little world. It's probably easier to pull that off on a 3-hour Raw show, you know.
I also think it's important that we should define like character, because, you know, MJF is a character wrestler, right? In a lot of ways. Most of his work is promos, and he only wrestles. I mean, he's a great wrestler, but he only wrestles on occasion. But his character very much fits in like a grounded, almost sports style. Sports style is a little strong, but you get what I mean, like matchmaking promotion. He's just a shit talk. There's, you know, shit talk exists in any combat sport. That's very different to a guy who, you know, sprays mist and spooky promos.
That's like a real, you know, like a real gimmicky character. You know what I mean? Like an actual gimmick. You know what I mean?
But the thing that happened to MJF though is like the more he wrestled, the more he got over with the crowd, and now people are having a hard time booing him because, you know, he's a good wrestler. So that's the problem that characters face in AEW too. Like, especially with Miro. Like, Miro was coming in there having some awesome matches, short matches, and people started to cheer him. So it's just like, what are you supposed to do if you're supposed to be a heel in this company?
Well, this week will be really interesting with MJF, because I have to say, if he gets cheered this week after he put his hands on Shivani, I think he is too. But it's like, you may actually have to consider doing the switch, man. I honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but like him coming out and doing heel promos while people cheer, it only kills the babyface, because they just stand there like a dog, you know, like he's so fucking
especially when it's someone like a Wheeler Yuta as well, who's not going to be able to like truly. You're in that dangerous territory that Britt Baker was in.
Yeah.
It's like you're the heel, where everyone's cheering you, and you're just burying your opponents, and the crowd's cheering for burying the baby faces, and it's just it gets messy. I don't know, turning him seems so drastic, bro. Like,
I don't know how you do it either at this point. Like,
you would need to like.
You could have done it when he came back.
He needs like a new wrinkle to his character. I'm not saying he needs to fucking come out in a mask and change everything completely. But
I got it.
Needs to like.
He follows the code of honor, and he wins the ROH title, and he starts doing handshakes and.
Yeah,
there you go.
Christopher Daniels is like his head coach, the first man of the dishonor, the code of honor. You got to do right by me, kid. You know, I don't know. It's just this. Like, I think one of the really interesting possibilities coming up here is when they get into this Mox program. Like, that crowd reaction is going to be really interesting because people love Jon Moxley, but we have seen matches where crowds have picked the other guy. Like Tanahashi's the obvious example, you know. And it's intriguing to imagine a world in which you're in a pay-per-view main event and like the crowd's chanting MJF against Jon Moxley. I don't think that's impossible. I'm not saying it will happen, but I don't think it's impossible by any means. And that's kind of
you don't even want dueling chants in a situation like that either. Like, you want it to be cut and dry. Moxley's a babyface, and I guess that's the challenge that Tony Khan's gonna have to figure out, because if you nail the build going up to it, and you have Jon Moxley looking like the best blue-eyed fighting babyface that's ever lived, and you make Max look like the biggest piece of shit, then you should be okay. But if they don't really drive it home with Moxley, then But obviously Moxley's great, so it wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of trust him to just like go out there and do it himself, because if he cuts promos like he did before he won the title the last time, then probably will be fine, to be honest. So
it'll be interesting. I really am, because if you look at the roster as currently composed, and you look at the fact that Max is probably going to hold that belt for most of next year, I think that's pretty clear. Like, I think with the story they're telling of the contract, I think he's going to win that belt full, and he's going to hold it for most of next year. If you look at their roster, they have like an army of babyfaces. Yeah. Moxley, Danielson, Kingston, Darby, Joe. Yeah. And there's guys even underneath that league. I mean, I think him and Sting as a TV match could be a great spectacle. Don't have to go long. Like, the story of Sting trying to win that belt, like the world's title, that'd be great. And MJF could cut great promos with that. So you have it all positioned, but the only issue is, what if they cheer Max against all those people I just named? Then it's like, you're kind of going up, fighting against the grain a little bit. So it's very interesting. I think this next couple of weeks is going to be very important. I assume he's going to wrestle Yuta at some point, right? Coming up here. Seems like it. So
I hope
maybe Wednesday.
Yeah. Maybe Wednesday's
we start with him, bro. Absolutely. Yeah. Just terrible.
I thought Yuta did okay, but it's hard, really hard. It's difficult in that
MJF
situation.
When the crowd's just, Yeah. He did fine. He didn't embarrass himself.
No, it's just hard.
Wheeler Yuta's only going to be so good on the mic in 2022 September.
Yeah.
MJF is, he's a polished top guy at this point, to be honest. Well, I don't know about polished, but like he's an established top guy at this point.
And his crowd control is incredible, right? Like, he's so good at that, and that's hard. So it's interesting. Manny, where do you stand on MJF as like a, the probably the next champion and someone that the promotion's going to be built around here for the next year or so? Where do you stand on that, Manny?
Sign me up for an MJF and Sting match. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I mean, building too. Wow.
Dustin Rhodes,
North Carolina or
Texas,
whatever.
Dustin Rhodes in Texas would be fucking incredible. Dustin runs the razor at like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Spends the whole match crawling around bleeding.
He loses because he didn't listen to his coach again.
I feel like MJF is pretty much just parodying like Punk's last year in Ring of Honor, and I think that's what we're gonna see. Like, just him towards the end of getting close to 2024, right? Mm-hmm. That's when his deal's in. He's probably just gonna be like that, just like, I'm taking the title with me until like somebody beats him. It sounds pretty like exciting on paper.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm kind of down for the ride, even though we all know he's probably not gonna leave. So
I'm really like, I'm torn on it because in a vacuum, that story sounds awesome. Like AEW's like Avengers trying to save the promotion from this piece of shit. Like it sounds cool. But the part of it that worries me is like if people actually do start leaving with regularity and going to the other show, it's like, man, like you're making it like your main angle. Like guys are just leaving. It's like, yeah, and also the world champ could leave. What a fucking time we're having here, you know? Like I would be very scared about that part of it. I ain't gonna lie.
Part of my head, like my brain's just telling me like he's not really leaving. Like he signed a new deal.
Right.
Part of me is just like, there's no way that Tony Khan's not dumb enough, or I hope he's not dumb enough to.
I agree.
Give him all that money and not add any years to it. Yeah, so I'm pretty. So I can't. I don't think I can get like emotionally invested in knowing that. Mm-hmm. So what are you gonna take the title? You're not going anywhere. I mean, just
that's the.
I'll just see you next Wednesday.
Like the Punk comparison is the obvious comparison, right? Like the Summer of Punk and whichever version of that you want to choose. But it's like the one that everyone always compares to is the Ring of Honor one, where it's like he's holding the belt hostage. He's told you he's going to leave. But the part of that story that makes it challenging is he was going to leave. That's why people were into it, because he actually was. Like, the idea, I think we all agree MJF's not leaving. So are people going to really buy he has the belt for a year? Are people really going to actually genuinely believe that he's leaving it? I don't know, hopefully, because otherwise it won't work very well. But it's just, I think it could be challenging pulling that off in this day and age, you know?
The crowds will play along, I guess, but no one's really going to believe it or buy into it the way that, like you said, with Punk, you don't have the... honestly, if they were going to do it like this, they would have been better off not doing the whole, work, shoot, promo and everything, because that just made it obvious to everyone. Like, so if he would have just left for a couple of weeks and came back and they tried to do the whole everything's normal, but reports were slowly getting out behind the scenes and stuff, that would have actually, made it questionable. Because for me, I didn't know what was going on, but as soon as he came out and started calling Tony Khan a prick and shit, then I knew exactly what was going on. Do you know what I mean? Wrestling fans, smart marks and everything these days, with everyone's leaking everything. There's multiple reports every day about this shit. It's just, if you're going to try to do the work shoot stuff, which Tony seems to be very into at the moment, you've got to be really, really, really smart with it. Otherwise, it's just... it's very wink, and that's what to my point. That's pretty much what I think it's going to get like when MJF is threatening to leave with the belt, because I don't think many people are actually going to buy it, to be honest. So,
in all seriousness, like, there's no fucking way he give him that pay bump without an extension, right? Like, when you and I were talking about this privately, Monty, like, I refuse. There's no way. That would be like insane, especially with the bump that people are talking about being. It would be one of the craziest promoter moves in recent memory. I can't convince myself that that's the thing.
No, I'm willing to. Everyone's quiet on it, man. Everyone's quiet on it. It's weird, Anyone you ask about, do you sign an extension? Like, nobody actually knows. You know what I mean? Everyone assumes that he has. But nobody knows. Like, as far as people in AEW don't. they don't know, but they just assume that he has, signed a new deal. So it would be crazy, obviously, if it was, he shows up at day one.
Shoots angle with Miz. Yeah, I don't know. It's a it will be a really challenging bit to pull off. If they get it right, it could be the quote unquote big angle that I think they've kind of been looking for in some ways. The kind of thing that overlaps the promotion. And look, I think undeniably, the baby faces that I just named a minute ago, I mean, that could be some great TV, right? It's some of those guys chasing MJF. I mean, that could be spectacular. And whoever beats him should come out a bit golden. I mean, I think this is going to pop you, Monty, but I think Hangman is the most obvious answer for, the actual dethroning. I know you're a big fan, Monty, but I mean, well, because he is the guy who you positioned and made a point of, this is the ace. And so much has happened since then that he doesn't feel that way anymore. And there will be no better way to solidify him than him being the guy that gets the belt back in AEW and kind of puts it back where it needs to be. I think there's an argument. Someone in our chat the other day said that Eddie should get like the Lex Luger win. Like in the summer, you have Eddie beat MJF and drop it back. Like you tease it, you know. But I think Hangman should probably be the guy that like is the actual hero at the end of the story. Big. Do you see Manny shake of the head then?
I'm gonna throw a name out there.
Not Roosh. We're not doing Roosh.
Everyone knew it,
I'm not letting him do it. I'm not letting him do his punch like that. So
not doing it, bro.
I'm not doing it.
Best of three. You would have done. You would have done the best of three with Roosh again, where Roosh wins.
Yeah.
Somehow, even though it's a best of three, Roosh wins 3 times.
I take it back. I walk back my last statement. I don't have a name to throw up.
Yeah. I also like people in the chat brought up. I think Darby is an interesting outside choice because he's a pillar, and those two guys are like complete contrasts in that way. I think that's interesting. No, but look at the shakes of the head I'm getting here, folks. You see this? See what I put with Monty? What's wrong?
Nothing, man. I just
Wardlow. Yeah. How's that? Don't have an that says Wardlow. What about Wardlow?
I prefer Wardlow to the other 2 options. Honestly,
over Eddie Kingston.
Wardlow.
No, over Darby and Hangman.
Do we all agree that Eddie would be like a good play for like? Wouldn't that be an incredible like TV moment? He wins it on.
Why not Eddie to be the one? Why can't Eddie be the one?
I mean, I love Eddie, but you know, the beauty of Eddie is that he's never that guy. He's the guy who almost wins and then somehow fucks it up. That's who Eddie is. Like, and
so what if Eddie beats him and then he doesn't let go of his
absolutely
his submission gimmick, and then
if you had him tap out MJF and hold it to and they reversed it, people would actually they would probably throw shit at the ring. It could be like an actual riot in wrestling. By riot, I mean people would quote tweet dunk, which is the modern equivalent. But yeah, I don't know. Eddie's the guy who, you know, he gives you a great moment, but I don't know if he's the guy who completely.
Yeah, what's he got to drop it straight back? Not, I'm saying he could drop it in, you know, however long, but just not to MJF.
Yeah,
you get it off MJF. Put it on.
Someone said Swerve. Man. Swerve to beat Eddie would be a nice one.
If he's ready at that point.
I think he's going to be there, Monty.
Yeah, I think from a talent perspective and ability wise, he's probably there now, you know. Yeah. But in terms of actually getting him, and he's getting great heat recently. But in terms of actually establishing him as a top of the card heel, and
Did you hear what Manny said?
Did he mention Roosh again?
He said not Roosh heat.
Yo, anyway, Swerve's that guy. He just needs to be positioned to be that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's just dropped the tag belt, so he's been in a tag team. That isn't usually the person that, you know, wins the world title. So obviously, there's a process to get there. Give him a few big singles wins on the way, and you probably like we were just saying, he's probably from an ability standpoint, he's probably already pretty much there already. Swerve's great. Swerve's great, man. A lot of potential there. Can be potentially a really big star. So he's same as Wardlow. He's worth making that sort of effort with.
Are you aware that Tony Khan has just advertised that Juice Robinson and Bandito will receive informative video packages on this Wednesday's edition of Dynamite? Because check the quarter hours, brother. Game changer.
Wait, what?
He's actually tweeted that. Yeah, he said Juice Robinson. No, he said if you're not familiar with Juice Robinson and Bandito, we will have informative video packages on this week's show.
What?
It's fucking amazing. He heard dipshits like us say for so long about video page. He makes a point about advertising it now. We're doing it, bro. I respect it.
It's too easy, isn't it? With Tony Khan.
I remember when last time you did that, I was so confused about what video package he was talking about.
I remember
the last one, and it was just like the Action Bronson one. And I remember getting on the post show and saying did I miss the thing he was talking about? They're like, yeah, I know it was the Action Bronson one. I said, that's it.
No, what happened was you was like, we did a pre-show, Manny and I, as we do every Wednesday late night grin, and we were talking about the video packages, and you said was the only video package the Action Bronson. I was like, he meant them. Remember, he did them promo inserts where it was like Jungle Boy and Jay Lethal. This is what, and you was like, oh, you thought it was just Bronson, and that was it for the whole 2 hour show. Tremendous. Yeah, no, he meant the like little vignette deals they did, little pre-tapes they did, which I thought that was an effective thing they did that week. Last week they had less time, obviously, because after Ash, so they did this week. Yeah, I have a question for you guys. I'm intrigued because as people are going to realize watching this show, we go all over the place. If you could start a wrestling promotion with any of the pillars plus Swerve, okay, that 5, that's your pool. The pillars plus Swerve, that's your 5 guys you can start a promotion with tomorrow. How many of the pillars are above Swerve in your pecking order? Is it just MJF and Swerve? Is Swerve above them all? How does Swerve stack up to those guys? Because there's always a lot of debate about the pillars, and a couple of the guys I think we all agree have kind of fallen away some. But is Swerve above all of them or just behind MJF? What do you guys think? I'm intrigued.
Who's a pillar again?
MJF, Darby. MJF, Darby, Sammy, and Jungle Boy. I think there's 2 that are clearly, fallen off a little bit.
I have Swerve number 1.
See, I do too, but I didn't know if that was a crazy take. I think I think I have him 1 too.
It's Swerve, MJF, Darby, Jungle Boy, Sammy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, with his fucking minor league Dragon Ball Z shit. Come on, bro. Yeah.
I'm intrigued, folks in the chat. MJF or Swerve? If we simplify it that way, because I was too much of a coward to ask it that way in case Monty would call me a piece of shit. Monty, what you got? He doesn't want to go there.
I feel like the answer that Manny just said is the right answer, but I really like fucking.
Yeah.
I think Darby's incredible.
We have a top guy backstage, Monty.
Oh God. Here we go. Get the tomatoes ready. Everyone, welcome. Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearce at Backup Hangman. What's good, bro? And he's put himself on mute. That's how we're starting. He comes in, immediately mutes himself.
Fair. I think he's preparing. He's
getting the Jim Ross music.
Yeah, he's preparing.
Piece of shit. I don't even mind ruining the bit because it's just like.
Yeah, I know you don't.
He messaged the private chat 4 times in the space of a minute.
It was amazing. 4 messages in a minute was incredible.
Oh, fuck. Bro, this guy's trying to get us took down, man.
Cease and desist on the way.
I had to mute him, bro. You can't. Had to silence him. Oh, you're ready for a good time. Next time you gotta come in and do it, Bella. You can't just be playing licensed music up in here.
He's not gonna do acapella. What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, we were compiling wrestling big boards there before you go. I'm intrigued where you're at on this, Hangman.
What's
okay,
up?
We got the 4 pillars.
Okay.
Yes, all 4 indeed.
Of
I added Swerve. Yes, of AEW, and I've added
Wait.
Swerve, and I was basically asking the guys: is Swerve above all the pillars? Is he just below MJF? Where does he stack up if you were to start a promotion tomorrow? I'm intrigued where you're at on this.
Monty has Swerve behind Jungle Boy.
No, I didn't. No, fucking way.
No, I didn't.
He is categorically, unilaterally, wholeheartedly, completely better than Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Those last 2 is where it gets a little tricky, and those last 2 is where I think some of it comes down to taste, because in my opinion, Darby Allin in his own way is a complete performer in terms of fully realizing what he is, what he can do, what works for him, his persona, his vibe, everything. And so frankly, Darby is a complete package in his own right. And same with Max, And so when I look at Max, Darby, and Swerve, I see 3 guys that they, in their own ways, they've all figured wrestling out for them. You know what I mean? And I could see any one of those guys being put in a main event situation in AEW because of it. Max is the guy with the star power because he's a tremendous talker and all the things that he's been able to do in AEW. I think Swerve with a big opportunity could absolutely elevate himself to that tier. I think he's actually poised for a breakout. And frankly, when AEW signed him, I want to admit something here. I was a fan of him. What's funny?
Yeah.
What happened?
Just the way you phrase things like this.
Oh, yeah. No, to be honest with everybody, when they signed him, like everyone's like, "Oh my God, Swerve! Oh my God, Swerve! Like holy shit, Swerve!" And I got it, like for sure, right? I got it. I've watched him since he was, Killshot and Lucha Underground and Shane Strickland and all that. My whole thing was I always thought like he was good, like he's a good wrestler, you know what I mean? And like he has a cool vibe, but I didn't see him at that top tier that some other people, I guess, maybe pegged him at, you know what I mean? And I got to be honest, towards the end of this run, his tag title run is when it was starting to kind of really hit me, So I will admit that I'm still a Keith Lee guy over Swerve if you were to make me pick between the two guys in the tag team. But because Swerve is younger and some of the things that he's shown with this potential wise, I can easily see him being a main event heel, So I'm not gonna pick. To be honest with you, I'm gonna do the cop out. I don't. I'm gonna do the cop out. I think in their own different ways, Max, Darby, and Swerve are in the same tier as a talent, and who you put above the other one at that point is subjective.
Flavor of the month sort of thing.
Swerve is the most interesting about Swerve right now is he's timed perfectly because there is a big time vacancy on the heel side. Christian's going to be out for a while. Adam Cole's situation is unclear in terms of health, to be clear, not contractually. Obviously Jericho's established, but Jericho, much as he might want to be, I assume he's not going to be around forever. And then you're left with Max, and it's like Swerve can pretty quickly become like a top 3-4 heel for them. And he feels like he's like right there ready to cross that bridge. This last month where he's been able to turn up the kind of viciousness and work with some spite, that's when he's at his best. I mean, he's a cool guy and he's a charismatic guy, but he is at his best when he can be a nasty piece of shit inside those ropes. That's when he's at his absolute maximum. So these next few months are going to be important for him because I think he could really like skyrocket because they need some heels right now, man. They're kind of light on that side compared to the baby faces where they go 10, 12 deep. It's an interesting kind of imbalance there.
For sure. Before not to derail anything, but what are some of the things you guys have touched on already on the pod today? I'm just curious.
We spoke about Bud Matt.
Yeah, and all the conflicting things going on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we spoke about Bud Matt, but we didn't really get into the other people who were rumored, really.
Real quick.
Talked about Myers.
Part of why there's just so much out in different directions, and it almost seems confusing. And in terms of what's the truth, what's not the truth, what's innuendo and rumor, what's factual, is partially because of AEW's increasing lack of transparency when it comes to what's going on behind the scenes. And so what it's leading to is a lot more of just whispers and reporters sitting on whispers for a while and then going, fuck it, I'm just going to go publish this whisper. And it's creating a lot of muddiness. And so that's how we find ourselves in a situation we're in now. Certain people will have you believe that Malachi is still under contract technically. Other sources would tell you, no, he's been released, but it's a conditional release. Right. Just real quick to lend some insight. I was personally told that he has been given the conditional release, and there's a clause in it where at any point during his no compete, which is really, really long, he has the option to return and reactivate his contract. So it's almost like the thinking and the motivation is we're going to make this shit so long that he's just going to go crazy and come back to work.
The Mustafa Ali, tactic.
Yeah. Basically, it's just long no compete. Go ahead, sit this whole thing out if you really want to. But if you come to your senses, you can come back to work, type of thing. Murphy, when I asked about him and looked into him, and I've been quietly inquiring about Buddy Murphy since the middle of the week. And what I could say about him is that
the week just started.
Last week, I'm sorry. Thank you, Manny, motherfucker. But yeah, no. Regarding Buddy, pretty much everybody is aware of, like, everyone's pretty much on the same page as to he wants to leave. And the understanding and belief from most people is he wants to go to WWE. Beyond that is where the story is slightly different from every single publication. Someone told me that his match on Rampage was his last match. Someone said he already got the release to me. And then I went around asking, did he actually get the release? Did he get the release? Did he get the release? And the best I could get was, I heard the same thing, but no, it happened. And from what the official published reports are saying, it appears that he hasn't officially gotten that release yet. And I can tell you this, it's pretty much understood and known that Tony Khan isn't keen on granting releases right now, especially to people who are intending on going to WWE. So that makes this whole situation very muddy because it's not just Malachi and Buddy who are thinking about jumping ship. So it's like, what does Tony do here? Does he set the precedent and go, hey, you know what, fuck it, you want to go, you go? Or do you keep every single person in that doesn't want to be there? Well, you know, it's a tough situation. But I just wanted to throw those things out just in case it wasn't touched on, because I do have some personal insight to some of those situations. So I just wanted to kind of toss that out there. Yeah,
absolutely. It's difficult because I do think, and I think we've all said this at some point over the last month, it certainly is easy for us to say, just let guys go that don't want to be there. And I'll be honest, that's where my instinct falls, because to me it's like, your roster's so big. What need is there to have guys that don't want to be? Just have guys that want to be on the team, you know?
I agree.
But I do also understand that I'm not the one making that decision. If there's potentially 10 guys that are waiting for someone to get out so they can ask themselves, I get why that could be a little bit concerning when, look, whether people like it or not, there is a somewhat, palpable shift of momentum right now. Whether people like WWE or not, there has certainly been a sort of babyface turn for them publicly. Is that hilarious? Yes. Is it real? Yes, it is real. It's happened.
It is a strange bit of irony. It is insane.
I don't think there's anything strange about Braun Strowman versus Otis being the biggest match of the year.
Monty, do you remember? One of the first podcasts after this Triple H regime becoming a thing, I said to you, when we were talking about what should WWE do, I said the first thing they need to do is become a babyface promotion. You know how much easier everything gets for you when you become a babyface promotion? It's not even just fan relations. It even relates to when it comes to acquiring talent. When you look like a happening place that people are happy to work for, it translates to better shows. You make decisions that the fans pop for. All of a sudden now there's goodwill for your product. And when you have goodwill for your product, the fans are more forgiving of potentially dubious decisions. This is the perfect time to debut gimmicks that, in other periods would probably, go over like a fart in church, because it's like everybody's just happy and there's a honeymoon phase and everyone's forgiving and they just want this thing to work.
It's more than forgiving, bro.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, when fans get really babyface, bro, really softened up, they ride out from. We've seen it with AEW, we've seen it with WWE in the past as well.
It's a real.
They've got shooters, bro.
It's a real thing.
He's done this before. People forget there was a time in NXT where if you went to a house show, the top babyface may just grab a mic afterwards and talk about how they're the real show. He would, NXT's brand was very much like, oh, forget that shit they do on TV. This is the real wrestling.
Yeah.
His biggest strength, more than being a creative guy, I don't think he's a particularly creative guy. Triple H's biggest strength is the wrestlers respect him, but he is much more aware of perception than people realize. Much more so than someone like Vince.
Oh, absolutely. Joe, another thing, one of my WWE sources, when I was having a conversation with him early on in this process, he made it clear to me that one of the things they're going to really focus on, and it's coming to fruition. One of the things they're going to focus on, it's so funny, Monty.
Check the private chatting about a minute.
Okay. One of the things, Joe, that was said to me was that the goal will be to become much more media friendly.
What the hell is that?
It seems like an earthquake's happening in okay. Fine, I'll do it. So they told me we want to be more media friendly, embrace the media, make fan friendly decisions, include more surprises in the TV, because surprises pop people. People like surprises, right? And when they laid it all out to me, Joe, it just felt like the Tony Khan model, where it's like, it was like surprises, be friendly to the media, more press conferences, have a visible face of the company talking on behalf of the company regularly, and that's become Paul Levesque. And it's just funny because that's the Tony playbook, and that's exactly what we've been seeing. The first month of his programming was a lot of returns every single week and people speculating and stuff like that, which leads to more discussion about your product online. That's positive and enthusiastic rather than negative. And
also,
how good was that Braun match?
It was tremendous.
I loved it. I can't lie to you guys. I don't. This is the first time, right? So usually when I come into the podcast late, it's because I'm watching a wrestling show, and usually it's I'm late and I'm watching Dynamite or whatever. I just watched SmackDown, and I can't believe I am saying these words. I finished a SmackDown, and I'm fired up. And
main event was awesome, man.
Joe,
that main event was killer.
Okay, Joe, did you see the Imperium Sheamus Gun match from a few weeks ago?
I did. Yeah, I was doing a live stream, so I didn't focus on it as well I could. But I watched the next day. It was tremendous. It's
awesome, right? So what I've noticed? I'm noticing an increasing trend, right, of these super heated tag matches on SmackDown. Right? I said that I don't know who the fuck is laying these matches out. Right? I just tweeted it. I don't know who's laying these matches out. But there's very much a old school 80s Southern tinge to the brain work and the skeleton of these matches on a structural level. Now, work-wise, they're not doing 80s moves. Pete Dunne is, doing snap Germans and enzuigiris and things like that. But in terms of just the genetic makeup of these wrestling matches, it's not like the standard WWE tags of earlier this year. WWE tag matches kind of bore me the way that they're normally structured, right? And there's just a frenzied nature to how they're worked now, where like the crowd is just super, super hot, and it's almost a party atmosphere when each person tags in. It's not like tagging, okay, I'm gonna get heat on me for like a long period of time, and this guy is the designated hot tag guy. No, the baby faces come in, and each of them are a house of fire every time they're in. And the heel cutoffs don't lead to like headlocks. The heel cutoffs lead to really, really sound and cerebral heel tag psychology, where they cut them off, usually weaponizing something against them and screwing them over, and then they're working over the babyface in a way where it's like it's meant to garner like extreme heat rather than just slow the pace of the match down. It's Southern. It's how FTR used to wrestle.
I think it's rooted in, and I think you saw this with NXT.
Yeah,
his favorite thing will always be Horseman era Crockett, right? That's his thing.
Yes.
Like he has the 10 pounds of gold hanging over his desk. Like that's his shit.
Yes.
And that's why you just brought him up.
Yeah.
The first stream we did when Vince retired, and Monty said, this go live. And about an hour into it, FTR came to on. I know FTR is like a whole bit here on the channel. That's fine. It's very funny. I get it. But I'm telling you guys, if they do want to make that move, it's a very different WWE waiting for them than Triple H. Like Triple H booking them now, I'm telling you, it would be very, very interesting. It wouldn't be if Vince was booking them. It'd be very I think there's an argument. There's some cool shit waiting for them if they do want to make that move.
Yeah, I don't. Who knows? Really, I know that they'll certainly entertain the offers, but what I'm just really happy to see is just this. It was just a trend that hit me. I'm watching this tag match, and I'm like, this is a throwback tag. This is like a modern. It was literally like the FTR. It's like the FTR matches where they just have 80s style tag matches, but with like a modern, like a slightly more modern pacing and moveset. And that's my preferred brand of tag wrestling, to be honest with you, because it's still coherent. It's still coherent while also being really, really dynamic and exciting. And so you can do that, and you can do the cool moves and all that shit while having a certain structure to it. So that was really exciting for me.
Absolutely.
It's
a great way to fill out the team. I mean,
absolutely.
You look at the NXT USA era, which was not my favorite by any means. I think it actually exposed some of his frailties as a booker. But
absolutely,
he did quickly realize, and he was always a guy who featured tag team wrestling. I mean, the Revival were featured great in NXT before that, but the USA era, he realized the value of if you have like high level tag team, multi-man wrestling, multi-team wrestling, it can fill out your TV in a great way. Because you can really rely on a match like when you have multiple factors in, like Pete Dunne and the Usos, Ridge Holland can do his thing. Like that match is not going to be bad, man. Like they're just not going to fuck that up, No. Like it's really good for filling out your TV, and I think that's something you're going to see him kind of try to piece this tag division back together. When he came in, it was as bad as it's been in some time.
Really bad. The wrestling really bored me. And I'm not the type of guy that needs like moves every 2 seconds to be compelled. What I do need is interesting thoughtfulness in the wrestling in one way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Whether it's thoughtfulness in the structure or creativity in how they're wrestling stylistically or something like that. And so much of the wrestling was just very much a phoned in, thoughtless just formula of how they go about their matches. And it just restricts so much of these matches from being at a level that it could be at. And so that's why it almost makes me interested of, like, for example, tonight, Johnny Gargano and Kevin Owens tagged with the Alpha Academy. That's not going to be the exact same match because of the talents involved. But I'm just that has a potential to kind of be, more than just a match on TV. That could be really, really good because of the people involved. And you would assume that the creative boundaries are expanded when it comes to what you can and can't do in wrestling. So I like that. I like the bloodline stuff. It's big time. It feels box office. And for the first time in about a year and a half, the story is no longer stagnant because like there's some movement narratively with Sami Zayn and Solo and all that stuff. That's good. And then the other big pop for me, obviously, Monty, as you would know, is the big boy match, man. Braun Strowman and Otis.
Otis is a fun wrestler, man. Otis is just he's a really fun guy, Henry.
Did you see that he does
guys
clothesline?
Guys, are you noticing a trend here in professional wrestling? Samoa Joe, Wardlow, Lance Archer, W. Morrissey, Braun Strowman, Otis,
Jonah.
Haas's are back. Oh, Brody King.
Yeah.
Haas's are back up. And we're not talking about big men that are trying to fit in by doing flippy moves. I'm talking about pure red meat, red-blooded Haas's wrestling like Haas's. I'm not talking about centers that shoot 3-pointers. I'm talking about centers centers that get to the fucking post and post up on the block and give me a jump hook. That's what I'm fucking talking about. I'm not talking about, whoa, he's 7 foot and he did a toe base. No, nigga. I'm talking about spine busters. I'm talking about world's strongest slams and lariats and Alabama slams and power bombs and Vader bombs and splashes. Real graphs. Big men are back up.
I just want to point, like, you picked a bad analogy because all the all-star centers shoot threes, and like the only guys that don't shoot threes are like JaVale McGee's and stuff like that. So I don't know if you really want to.
Well, no, it's not a bad analogy because it's the exact same thing in this way. In the NBA, the thinking is you have to modernize with the times. You have to follow the analytics. You have to follow modern skill sets, and by doing that, centers, you have to adapt to what these smaller players are doing just to survive in the game, because otherwise you're going to be extinct. The belief is that big men are extinct from basketball. If you just post up, you have to shoot threes. You have to be versatile. You have to move around the perimeter. In the same way in wrestling, how many times have we seen how like we phase the big man out of wrestling because it's like, oh, they can't move like, some of these independent super workers that we've seen, right? And so their way to keep pace is, that way we got in 2017 where, the Dijakovics and Keith Lees of the world are doing Ranas and Topes, which when you first saw it, it blew your mind. It's like, holy shit, right? But I think in the years since, it's become such a trend that's now become passe. It's just how wrestling goes. People copy things until it becomes boring, and then you have to switch up. And so now, just like, old styles of fashion come back in, and it's like, oh, shit. I think the pure red-blooded, red meat, born and bred, grass-fed Haas's.
Grass-fed.
American-made.
To be fair.
American-made, corn-fed Haas's are back.
To be fair, I remember vividly Hangman on Twitter talking he was pro-Braun, which I co-sign, Monty co-signs. Manny definitely did not co-sign. And people were kicking the shit out of you for saying like Braun's better than this guy or that guy. And like, I actually think that is a great example of how booking can get guys in these like holes they can't get out, and also their own comments, to be clear, in Braun's case. But like, when you see Braun like positioned correctly, it's like this man. He's an attraction. Like he's an actual spectacle, and there aren't many guys that are like you name some great wrestlers there, but he still is more of a
those numbers, brother.
He's
2.7 million.
2.7 million for 2.7 million for the quarter hour Braun Strowman and Otis.
Just wait for Jonah and Otis to happen at Royal Rumble.
Quite
so
frankly,
I want to get to this real quick though.
Sure,
We've got about 10 minutes left.
Before you do,
go on, real quick. No essays.
Yeah, no essay. That's the thing, man. Like when it comes to the other, because he was one of those signings that like some of the other ones got made fun of, like across like a hit row. They put him in the same conversation, like they brought back Strowman too. And in my mind, I'm like, bro, between Strowman, Cross, and Bray Wyatt, quite frankly, this is just the blunt, honest truth. He is the best wrestler out of those three people in that conversation. Straight up, like just straight up. Like, to be honest with you,
I agree.
So it is what it is. But go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, obviously, kind of going with the title as well. We spoke about Buddy Matthews.
Yes.
Oh shit, yeah, we did.
But there's a lot of other rumors going around. So obviously, Ron Frederick of the Wrestling Observer, he's been posting in the forum quite a lot lately, dropping a few scoops, things that he's heard, stuff like that. And basically, he was debunking the Miro rumor that's been going around. So there's been like a what should we call it? In the underground with Twitter, there was a rumor going around that there's a rumor going around that Miro wanted to get out of AEW. This has since been debunked, and the forum post said Miro does not want to go back, and he also added that the only guys that really want to go back are the ones who have significant others with the other company. So obviously, when you look through AEW talent, there is there's some pretty significant names that have significant others in the company. And then while all this discourse was going on, Andrade, he tweeted an hourglass, which obviously could mean fucking anything, but people have ran crazy with it. There's been rumors, obviously there's other wrestlers as well, but there's quiet words going around that they might want out of AEW, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of movement potentially. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that really, because obviously if you're someone who's on Twitter lately and you see a rumor about a certain name going to WWE and you don't know where that's come from,
it might be from a forum.
These are kind of like these are the roots of it. But Miro, obviously, like I said, that rumor has been squashed. He does not want to go.
Monty, you know what it is? There's almost there's an underground like rumor network. It almost seems, and it's in the forums where like people with clout of some kind kind of come in the forums and just give news tidbits that they have, and then people will post about it, and eventually it is in like a game of telephone. It spreads, and by the end, people don't know what the source of it was, and so the people who are just catching on to it at the end are like, where did this come from? This is like from thin air. People are just making shit up. And it's like, no, it came from a forum thing. This happened with the Young Bucks WWE Feeler story.
Yeah, it's obviously the poster in the forum is that's everything. Obviously, like I said, Ryan Frederick, he works with Wrestling Observer. He has a piece in the newsletter every week. So he's obviously he's the MMA guy, but obviously he's
do you guys want to weigh in before I give the information that I have, or do you want me to just give what I have and then let you guys just kind of give your opinions on it?
I think Joe's frozen.
Just
Joe, you're live. Oh my God, no!
I feel like we should just keep him. He's gone.
No,
he's cut out. We've lost him. We've only got like 5 minutes anyway.
His laptop probably died.
Yeah, just a tidbit.
Okay, listen, I've gotten a lot of conflicting things on Andrade, for example.
God, that's my guy. So be careful.
Elidolo. You listen, like the forum poster said, it's the people with spouses that are interested, right? And listen, man, there's a lot of rumor and innuendo on certain wrestlers and who was reached out to, who wasn't reached out to. Swerve was reached out to. I think it's fair for me to just honestly, openly say this now, because he doesn't deny it. Keith Lee basically kind of came out and said, like, no one knows my personal business, and that's true. No one really knows what's going on with Keith and stuff because he won't speak on it. Joe's back, thankfully. Big Pop. Listen, there are people who have had conversations and feelers and things like that, but ultimately, even some of the former Triple H guys that Hunter loves and were successful, a lot of them basically are just staying put because of the situation that they're in. But there's a couple who it seems like Hunter is, he's, if nothing else, emotionally seduced over to his side. Monty Cian Almas. Yeah. But now the key is, can he actually get them to get out of their deals? That's much more tricky. Regarding Andrade, I can tell you guys this. I've heard a couple various things. Someone told me that Zelina Vega is going around telling people around her, close to her, that Andrade is coming. I can tell you guys that Charlotte has been off TV for a long time, and I think you should monitor that. I can also tell you that she very much wants to work with her husband, wherever that is. I can also tell you that what else do I have on this? Yeah, I can also tell you that someone told me that he asked for his release, and I tried to confirm that, and I couldn't. And then I had another person basically said, yeah, he's like trying to work on it, but you know, Tony's in the mode that he's in right now. You know what I mean? Which is you're all fucking mine. You're under contract. So who knows? Who knows what ends up happening? You know, he was able to get out of his WWE contract somehow, some way, and so it's yet to be remaining if he's able to get out of his AEW one. Should he want that? But like Ryan Frederick said, the people who have spouses are the ones who want to go, and he's married to one of the most important ones in pro wrestling. So we'll see what happens. Rover, to cite Rover, but he did tweet. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he said he kind of openly speculated, like, I wonder if that's the delay for Legado del Fantasma's main roster debut. So I don't know.
They get too many Mexicans on their roster.
Oh boy. I'm not selling that one. Last thing I'll say, I don't know what the hell this means because people are being vague everywhere. It's not just on the timeline; it's behind the scenes as well. One of my WWE sources, the one who I talk to pretty frequently, he's pretty high up. He sent me a message today, and the message said Lex Luger, and did not elaborate. And to me, I think Lex Luger. I think Joe.
That's bad news, man.
When I hear Lex Luger, I think WCW.
There's no summer match. Oh wait, I don't know what I'm gonna do with
this.
Listen. When I hear Lex Luger, all I think is Nitro episode 1. Luger a day after he does a WWF house show match, showing up on Nitro. So who in the fuck could that be in the modern day? Who is he talking about? I have no.
What is he cooking?
What is he cooking? I literally replied with like 7 messages. Like, wait, what do you mean? Do you mean this? Are you talking about this? The Nitro moment? What's going on? Who? What's going on? And he just didn't reply to me. So,
wow,
it's nasty. Yeah. I think we'll finish on that one.
Lex Luger.
If anyone's got anything to want to add on it, obviously.
What a cliffhanger! Look, this could be relevant in like half an hour for all we know. Anything could happen.
I don't think so. Listen, to me, in my head, I'm the resident skeptic, and I just don't believe that Tony is going to just go down without a fight or go down swinging when it comes to some of these talents.
Yeah.
Like, even if they want to leave, I just don't see him going like, all right, clean release, you can show up on Raw tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see it.
I have to say, I love Andrade. And especially when he was the NXT champion, I thought he was like one of the most just enjoyable professional wrestlers in the world. I am at a point with him, not that I'm disappointed, it's far from it. I don't care what the guy wants to do. I'm happy for him to do what he wants, but like, I have no read on like what I think he's into at this point. Like, I have no clue. Like, when he went there, I remember being so excited about the idea. And the fact that he's big plan a bit of, can we hire my friends so we can be in a faction? It's like, I have no idea anymore. My main thing, I just want to see a dude wrestle, man. He's fucking great.
Yeah, he's too good to not wrestle more frequently. Michael Sidgwick pointed this out pretty fairly, which was that so much of his run was just him gathering his friends over.
Yeah.
And just being in pre-tapes in a suit. Yeah. And it's a bit of a weird, uneven run that had really big highlight moments at some point. I thought he found his footing as a worker towards the middle of it. That 3-way with Sammy and Darby in particular was tremendous. But yeah, if this is the end for him, and I just don't see it again because Tony's not giving releases, that would be a shame, because I do think he's a stellar wrestler. One last tidbit I will throw out. He did want Ric Flair to join him in AEW, and for extremely obvious reasons, Tony could not make that happen. You know who is a really big fan of Nate that works in a position of power in professional wrestling? Paul Levesque. And I made a shitpost joke, and this is not a scoop. This is not a fucking scoop. I'm just kidding. But I made the tweet where I just said Hunter called Nation for a favor. So yeah, man, it's yet to be seen. We'll see what happens.
Lex,
Let me tell you,
maybe Manny's going to show up on a review show tonight on some other site.
What's up? What's up, Manny? What's up?
Manny's dead to me. I'm not gonna burn his mask like any psycho like that because that mask was a lot of money. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I might just put it in one of my drawers or something. But
well, Manny,
I'm adding Rey Mysterio mask to my desk. And
you said Manny's dead to me. I'm not a psycho or anything.
Yeah. Manny, I mean, listen, Manny, I think if anything, I think it's funny, and it has to be calculated that there was some Andrade rumor and innuendo swirling the timeline, and right on the eve of that, Tony Khan is like, "Listen, Bandito's going to be on Dynamite." That can't not be on purpose.
Who the fuck needs Andrade? We got that dog Roosh in there, that Toro Blanco.
Who's we?
In there. That Toro Blanco over there, fucking Savage over there doing stiff strikes with Hangman, making the place go wild. And then we got the Bandito coming.
What? Someone in the comments, guys, because we're gonna go off soon. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment when the video's over. Someone in the comments, please tell me what was Andrade's last TV appearance on Dynamite and what was his last match on Dynamite. I would really appreciate if someone could just find that out for me and comment it below. Real quick, Monty, Raw has
it was that Lucha match with the Lucha Bros, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And wasn't that match delayed because Andrade was injured?
Yeah.
And then he came back, so he was healthy and had that match afterwards.
And you know what? Yeah. Fuck that too. We got Masco Dorado too on Elevation. We cooking, bro.
That is going to be interesting, man. I do think Tony Khan needs to stack up on luchadors. It's a void on his roster that I'm looking forward to seeing filled. Monty, tonight Raw has a pretty interesting card. A lot of matches announced beforehand, and it's going to be in front of 12,000 people in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So
Canada.
Edgy's back. I think Edgy's back as well. So
yeah, he's gonna do an angle with Finn Balor at the end of the show. Yeah.
Man, who cares? We got America's game on tonight. Cowboys Giants.
Cowboys Giants. Yeah, Cowboys Giants.
You watch that Canadian program in Raw. I'll be watching American football.
That's a great game. Listen, Giants football. I mean, Giants versus Cowboys is a divisional game. Giants have to go.
Listen, fuck the football talk.
Yeah,
Raw is literally on right now.
Sorry, Monty, you're missing your Seth Rollins promo. All right.
What are we doing here? 12,000 people, brother.
He's getting grumpy. He's like, I'm missing my Fed, man. What's going on here? Listen, guys.
Talking about football.
Look, listen. I'm trying to, motherfucker. Listen, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please leave a like. It's great for the video. This has been Hoopers, Haters, and Hulbert, which is going to be the official name going forward. I don't care what Monty says. For Monty, Joe Hulbert, and Manny, I am Hollywood Hangman Adam Pierce. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Thursday.